All right, let's go ahead and get started today. First of all, thank everyone so much for joining us. I know there's always a busy time in schools and districts and consortia and boards and private schools around the world, especially with all the planning that goes throughout summertime to really set you up for a great back to school. So we really appreciate you taking some time to join us today to get a little bit of a deep dive on MBAssist and how that can strengthen the way that you're supporting staff in your school, your district, et cetera. So just a few housekeeping logistical things before we dive in today. First of all, we are recording. So if you're like me and sometimes all of a sudden someone walks by, has a question, feel free to know that you'll get this recording here in the next day or so and can certainly rewatch it, look at specifically interesting areas, share with other folks within your organization, et cetera. We've also got a great Q&A chat set up here in today's webinar Zoom. Feel free to plug your questions in as we go. I don't feel like you have to wait for the end. We'll answer a few live questions at the end based on what folks are asking. If for some reason we don't get to your question, we're certainly not ignoring you. We follow up with everyone who attends these webinars or signs up and watches the recording to see what questions you have. So we certainly look forward to answering any unanswered questions when we have those deep dive one-on-ones with you following the webinar. So those are the main things I wanted to share with you before we dive in. So as you can see here, we're here to look at our MBAssist product showcase and thinking about ways to strengthen the ways that you're supporting your staff, whether they've been there for 40, 50 years, or whether they're a brand new hire, just starting new teacher orientation, in just a more streamlined, simple, and AI-driven way that's really going to be what we dive in today. Now, I'm your moderator, but I'm lucky enough to be joined today by our resident expert, Dan Yenchar from the Customer Solutions Specialist team, who's going to be walking through, showing you exactly what this looks like, and at the end of the day, answering a lot of the questions that might come up within the chat. So Dan, can't thank you enough for joining me today, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Sam.
And if you're new to your school, your district, your board, your organization, we always like to just remind where MBA is coming from. So we've been around for 40 years, 40 plus years now at this point, and really focus on having the expertise that schools need. We lead with a relationship first approach, making sure that we listen and then act and are really tailoring the support and solutions that we provide to what you actually need. And 40 plus years, we're proven. And so this is one of our newer kind of areas that we're growing into with MBAssist, but continuing to have that commitment to doing what's right by schools and really helping them just operate a heck of a lot more efficiently based on the solutions that we provide. And that's one of the things we heard, with one of the reasons we grew into the MBAssist space was because we heard loud and clear from our educators, from the customers, the partners that we have globally that, hey, we need better ways to support staff. And as a former teacher, it's kind of a no-brainer. It makes sense. Of course, you want to support your staff, but it really does matter because when educators are supported, they're just better at what they do. Better student outcomes, better instructional quality, better overall classroom experience. And unfortunately, that's not the way it always works for educators. With more and more to do, a lot of teachers experience, increased work-related stress. And that is actually leading some to not only look at maybe switching jobs, but leaving the industry altogether, with 1 in 5 educators thinking about leaving the profession in the next few years. And so we want to help reverse that, help maintain the teachers that you have, take some stuff off their plate, make things easier for them. And if they do retire or happen to go to another role and you have new hires, I remember very well my time as a new hire. I felt like I had 1,000 printouts and couldn't quite find the information I needed, just added to a lot more stress and just overall decision fatigue of me figuring out how I'm going to get this answer and who the right person to talk to. So what we're really going to look at today alleviates a lot of that. So I think that's really my intro, Dan. I'm gonna hand it over to you to talk a little bit about some of the benefits, and then of course to do the real heavy lifting where you jump right into MBAssist and show folks how it works.
Perfect. Thank you, Sam. My name is Dan Yenchar. I live in Michigan. I worked in Michigan schools for many years as a PowerSchool administrator before coming to MBA. And I see a lot of names that I'm familiar with out there. So thanks for taking the time to join us. But I see some HR folks, some tech administrators, even some transportation people, and some cafe food service folks. So I'd like you to take a moment to think about some of your most commonly asked questions, right? What are your peers or your subordinates hitting you with, right? Every day, same question over and over again. Are you forced to dig up that documentation in an email and send it back to your peers as you're helping them navigate these questions, right? So I just wanted you to think about that for a moment before I get into the slides. So what is MBAssist? MBAssist is an always-on AI assistant trained in your organization's approved policies, handbooks, and internal resources. It provides consistent self-service support for staff while reducing those daily interruptions leaders face, right? Those questions that you're chronically asked. It allows administrators to upload documents or map to a Google Drive, OneDrive, or SharePoint to keep information current. So again, this can map to those drives, right? You don't have to upload documents. You can map this to your Google Drive. So staff can get reliable answers on their own, reducing repetitive questions, shortening response times, and freeing administrative and support teams to focus on higher value work, right? These are some of the key benefits of MBAssist. It provides instant support by responding only with up-to-date information sourced directly from the documents that your school or district, gives access to MBAssist, right? This is only going to come in and find your information, answer those questions based on your guidebook or handbook and resources. Schools and districts can create assistants by department, like a tech department assistant, an HR assistant, and control who sees what while delivering relevant role appropriate guidance. So I want you folks to think about how many questions you're asked, the same questions over and over again. I'm going to take control of the screen here. And I'm going to drop in to the end user experience here. So as I hop in, this is what the end user sees for MBAssist. Now, when you think about those questions that I asked, hey, what are my colleagues asking me a lot of? I can pick up to 6 questions here, right? Like I know for me, I travel for MBA about quarterly, and I can never remember how to do my expenses. So I can come in here and just click on this tile. How do I submit expenses? It'll give me that answer. I can type into the MBAssist. I know a lot of you folks, especially from smaller districts, right, wear many hats. So maybe you're let's say the McKinney-Vento expert or something like that, right? And then all of a sudden you're the Title IX expert. So I can put a question in here. Again, I can type, I can speak to it, but I can say, hey, what is step 3 in the Title IX process? And what MBAssist is doing here, it's going out and it's scouring your resources, right? Your handbook, whatever documents you give it. It's not going out to the internet, it's closed AI, and it'll give your team a quick answer based on your policies. So as it comes in and finds step 3 in the Title IX process here, I can research this, get more answers. It brings me the document that it pulled it from. So it's pulling from my handbook. As I click on handbook here, I know it's taking me to page 48 of this particular file. I can click on that. It takes me right to the handbook. Here's page 48. I can download this resource as well. So when you're thinking about how much time it takes to answer these questions, right? Maybe your peers can do this themselves, or if you're doing it, I can quickly find this documentation. I can download it right from here and I can email it back with the answer. As I head back to MBAssist, it knows that since I'm talking about the Title IX process, I can just speak to it now. I can click on the microphone, step 4, and it knows I'm referring to the Title IX process. So maybe I want to know step 4 now. And again, it's going out, it's going to find step 4 in that process for you. And again, these are your policies, right? Your policies are driving these answers. So as it prepares step 4, there's a lot of information here. So another wonderful feature I like to point out is I can come down, I can speak other languages to it. I can type other languages to it. But if I want this in Spanish and Espanol, it'll go out and translate it. Now, all of my source documentation in my Google Drive or that I've uploaded, they're all English. They're all English based, but I can speak another language to it. We all have many end users that maybe they're not native English speakers. So as we get into complex documents like step 4 of the Title IX process, right? Maybe it's easier for them to read in their native language. So it's simply, again, all of my source documentation was in English, but it's coming out and translating it to Spanish. So I like to show that. Another nice feature here is I have access as an end user to our special education, special services, the HR assistant, and the professional development. So one of our latest here on professional development is MBAssist gives you the ability to timestamp videos. So we recently had a speaker come in to talk about leadership, right? So I can reference this video. I can say, what are the seven steps to leadership? And what it's going to reference here is a video I uploaded. We had a speaker come in and talk about leadership, right? So maybe I'm coming back many months from now and I want to learn about leadership. So it's going to tell me the 7 steps, but what's most important here is it's going to show me and timestamp those videos of those 7 inside the video, right? It's timestamping those videos. So I like to show that as you think about all the different PD that you have available to your staff, to teachers, to whomever, special ed itinerants, right? Like I can come in here and I can timestamp videos and go find exactly what I'm looking for. Another thing I like to show here is negative answers. So I'm going to ask it a question that I don't believe it'll have an answer to. So I like to use this goofy one. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck? Now, as I come in here, I'm not expecting there to be any source documents that'll answer how much wood a woodchuck can chuck. So because this is closed AI, I think this is very important. It's going to give a customized answer, and you can customize it based on whatever assistant you're in. So, thank you for your question. Unfortunately, I don't have the specific information that you're looking for at the moment. However, you might try asking it differently. Again, it's customizable, right? If I'm on the tech support page and it's not answering, maybe I say, hey, put in a help desk ticket to Sam at something, right? So you can customize these for each assistant as well. Why this is important is that it's only looking at your source documentation. If a question is asked that has no supporting document, it's not going to go out and, what they call an AI hallucinate or try to please you by giving you an answer. It's just going to give you this generic answer that you customize. Um, because it is a closed AI environment, MBAssist will not make up an answer. MBAssist gives you the answer, not just an answer, and this builds employee trust in the system. I'm going to now navigate away from the end user experience and show the administrator side of things. So now this is the MBAssist from an admin standpoint. On the left-hand side here, I have many different assistants, right? I have a special services, a training, a technology, finance, professional development. Each assistant listed here has its own set of documents from which a user can ask questions against, and each assistant has its own set of users. Users can be invited to join multiple assistants, and you can create as many assistants as you'd like. When you think about your technology services, right, that was my old wheelhouse in the schools. Um, Questions like, hey, what is the IP address to the special ed printer in the workroom, right? Stuff like that. Or how did I sync a certain product to PowerSchool? These complex technical documents can be easily retrieved right from that MBAssist instead of trying to remember where I put that information. It's really easy to create an assistant. I can come over here and click Add Assistant, and we'll name this one Webinar. Just hit Create. Assistant added. It'll pop it up here in the top left, webinar. Next to each assistant, you'll see your role here. To delete an assistant, it's just as easy as adding it. I can come down here and delete an assistant. So it's that easy to create and delete an assistant. Let's head to the HR assistant here. The only difference from the admin side, an admin can still chat just like the end user. They just simply click on the chat, and now I can interact with it as an administrator. I can see questions that I've asked last May, right? So a couple months ago, I asked it some questions, and it's going to remember what I've asked, so I can quickly retrieve information too if I'm coming back to it monthly or something like that. As we head back to the dashboard, I'm going to talk about some settings here. Settings are in the middle and down here in the bottom left. So as I come into settings here, I'm going to talk about statistics. Statistics is where the admin or manager can review present or past questions and answers. User management is where admins can view active and inactive users. Admins can see their invited assistants and they can update user roles and remove users. Invite links is just that. If I want to send a specific invite to say Sam or something, I can do that. I can do all this in bulk as well, right? As the first time I can bulk upload this. But as new employees come on board or something like that, I can send individualized emails to them with the link to the AI. There's, dark theme and light theme, customization. Customization, this allows the admin or manager to customize their assistant with a name, description, or logo. The chat dashboard is where the admin or manager can create a header, a description, and up to those 6 example questions, right, that you can put as the tiles on there for the users, and that negative answer, right? If this was the tech one, maybe I say put in that help desk ticket, something like that. So each assistant can have its own negative answer. One of the latest additions here is chat integrations. So you can tie the MBAssist to a couple of different chat bots. You can tie it to Zoho Click, Microsoft Teams, Google Chat, and Slack. So MBAssist can tie into your chat bots as well and retrieve information for you. So we've already created an assistant and we've named it. Now I'll show you how easy it is to upload the files that will support those answers. So as we head to the HR here, My Files, I can already see the files that I've uploaded. I can search these by extensions, right? By file extensions if I want to search these, by status, whether it's in use, being converted, transcribing. Some of the oldest first, if I want to keep an eye on my how old my documents are that are in the drive. I can certainly search by that. But to upload a file, it's really easy. I can do this in bulk. I can grab one, but as I come in, I'm just going to grab the handbook here, upload, and you can see in the back that it's recognizing. And in a few seconds, it'll be ready to use. So it's that easy to upload the AIs, and now it's ready to use. So it was just transcribing it for the AI to be able to pick it apart more easily. If you want to add it to a source like a Google Drive, a OneDrive, things like that, I can come into one moment here to add a source. I can name the drive. I can map it, right? Choose which name it, choose which drive to map it to. If I know the URL, I can copy it in there, or I can map it manually. So it's that easy to add your Google Drive, things like that. After a while, if you want to update if you've changed your files inside of your Google Drive and I want to update it here, I just simply come to the OneDrive here and hit refresh, and that will refresh the documents for MBAssist. I'm going to return to the admin dashboard to look at those statistics a little more closely. So as we head to the dashboard, down here in settings, there's statistics. So as I come in here, let's ask it um, maybe the last week. Let's look at questions for the last week, questions and answers for the last week. So as I come in here, it's going to give me 3 default columns, answer, email, and questions. You can choose other columns to display. And maybe most importantly here, I want to know my negative responses, right? Because you want to see what your people are asking and getting a negative response to, because maybe you have to change the verbiage in your handbook to how people are asking questions, things like that. It's just nice to keep an eye on what's getting one of those negative responses. So I can quickly find that here. I can click usage count. And when I do that, it will open up the ability to create charts. So I can create a line chart, a bar graph, a bar chart, excuse me, or a pie chart here. So I can download these and use them if you're data-driven folks. But it's just a nice way to get a look at what's being asked and how we're interacting with this tool. I've mentioned the role of manager a few times, and the admin can invite a person and assign them the role of manager for that assistant. So kind of the hierarchies are admin, manager, and user. The manager's dashboard is very similar to what I showed you, with limited access to certain settings. So managers have access to statistics in managing files, and the manager cannot invite or delete users, and the manager cannot delete an assistant. So think of managers are just like the information, right? I'm going to give it the Google Drive. I'm going to take care of the documents, that sort of thing. Admins will do the inviting. So that was MBAssist, guys. I'm going to hand it back to Sam. I wasn't keeping an eye on Q&A, Sam, so I'm going to hop in there and see if I can answer anything.
Absolutely. No, that was perfect, Dan. And I always get a little jealous in these because I think, man, I could have had a much smoother first year of teaching or fifth year of teaching had I been able to come in, yeah, get my answers. I know I probably asked the front office staff the same question a dozen times. Could have saved them a lot of time. And at the end of the day, forms change. And so making sure that you have access to those up to date policies, forms, and no one's using something that maybe accidentally got printed out 5 years ago and they're still taking this as the gospel. That might be a little bit of an issue if you've had multiple versions that have come up since then. So yeah, a couple questions. The first one I know, so I'm gonna give you a chance to get a sip of water or coffee there, Dan. One question I think that comes up frequently, not just here. Hey, we oversee multiple districts. You know, maybe you're with a RISA or the BOCES or a region. You know, for example, in Virginia where I taught. Would we have to have an environment for this for each one? No. This is a great tool if you're, thinking about supporting multiple districts. You certainly can do that. Can share this out with multiple districts. And as Dane just showed, creating maybe district specific agents if there's stuff that only a district would need to know. However, if it's something that you're in charge of providing to all the districts that you serve, then that could certainly be leveraged in that way. So you wouldn't have to manage a bunch of different environments. Um, the next one, Dane, I'm going to lean on you a little bit because I think you probably have more experience and expertise on this. Realistically, let's say someone was ready, they had their documents all sitting on their desktop. What are we talking about in terms of implementation rollout? Is this weeks, months, years? Like what would be typical in terms of going from not having MBAssist to using it effectively the way you just showed?
Sure. So a matter of hours, right? It's that easy. Training and implementation is just an hour long with our award-winning training and implementation team. You roll it right out. We help you upload your documents or map it to a Google Drive, and boom, you're up and running within an hour.
I said weeks, months, years. I clearly should have started a little bit smaller there.
That's okay.
No, that yeah, and I always like to preface that. Clearly it's based on your schedule. So if you're on vacation for 2 weeks, then we would get started once you got back. So it does require that person because we want to get it right, not fast. And we want to make sure we have exactly the documentation that you're leveraging plugged in before you roll it out to the masses. Um, Dane, another question for you. So we showed uploading a document. What happens if you have your new AI policy document? Like how does replacing work to make sure it's pulling from the new finalized version and not maybe the one from 2 years ago?
Sure, great question. So it will, when it pulls your source document, it'll say your handbook from 23-24 or your handbook from 24-25. It'll pull everything that answers those questions. So I guess it's up to the end user to see handbook 25-26, right? And know to pull from that one.
Yep.
But as far as filtering and searching and removing, you can filter by file type there or by oldest and just simply remove. It's another nice feature is you can use this to download those documents, right? So as I'm looking, maybe I'm the HR person and I get a question and I want to attach the documentation instead of having to go out and find it. I have it right here. I can download it right here. I can say, hey, it's on page 48 and ship it right back in that email. It takes 30 seconds, right? I don't know how long these questions are taking and how often people are answered the same questions, but it probably takes more than 30 seconds to get
Yeah.
that done. Yeah, so it's a tremendous time saver there.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a really good point too of just it's a good reminder to keep your space clean. Because I know our district website had a lot of older versions of things out there that just no one deleted. Having it all right there in front of you, being able to say, "Well, I replaced that." Good reminder to delete, two versions ago, all in one place. Make sure that everything you're pulling and sharing with the staff is based on that up to date information. Um, and then last one, I think this is a no brainer, but I'm gonna let you answer it. A lot of people wear multiple hats. So let's say I'm the principal, but I'm also on a district team. Can I be in two agents at once and have access not as an admin but as an end user?
So you would have to navigate. I can switch back. I'll show you what it looks like for me as the end user. So as the end user here, I have the special ed side, the HR side, and the professional development side. So I would have to come into the agent itself and ask my PD related question, right? If I wanted to, hey, do we have any I'm a new third grade math teacher. Do we have any multiplication videos out there, right? I would come to the PD. The HR assistant probably wouldn't have the answer to that.
Right.
And
No, you
you can
yeah,
map the
and you
same
nailed it.
Google Drive though to each assistant. So I mean, if you wanted, then it would, right? If I'm mapping the same Google Drive to those assistants, it would.
No, yeah, and I think as long as you have access to the two of them, I think it's actually really nice that it gives you that clear way to distinguish. Like, hey, I'm a principal during the day. I need to go into the principal agent that my district set up, but in the afternoon, maybe I'm the basketball coach, and so I need to go into the coaches, the physical policies, things like that to give me a different kind of almost the ability to flip that switch and put on that hat and get support in the area. So I think as long
Absolutely.
as I have access to two of them, that definitely answers the question.
I remember working for the schools. We were all HR end users, right? We didn't know. I'd have to come here and type that in, so we're all end users to that extent as far as the stuff that
Yep,
we're not privy to or that we don't have an answer to. That's
exactly.
the
And
beauty of
and
it. Yeah.
and not to mention all the different kind of scenarios. Like, oh well, we need this for security because we're doing the human firewall training and things like that in videos, and we need this for internet policy or AI policy or literacy skills or end of year state summative testing best practice. There's just the list goes on and on for the types of agents that you could set up here and share out and make sure people get in time help when they need it. And really, that's the whole point of MBAssist is making sure that staff have support when they need it and that those who have the answers are able to do it in a little bit more efficient way and not get asked the same exact question, 10, 15, 20 times a day. So, um, well, I think that's all the questions that we had that we had in the chat and wanted to go over today. As mentioned, we'll be sending this out to folks in the next day or so with the recording. Huge thanks to you, Dan. Just in terms of going in, I always learn something new from you. And even more importantly, to the folks who were able to attend live today, really appreciate you taking 30 minutes or so to learn a little bit about how MBA is really just continuing to be committed to helping your organization run as smoothly as possible. We'll be following up to see what additional questions you have. And also, if you're watching this on the recording, we'll be following up with you as well. But just once again, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. And we look forward to chatting with you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks
Have
so
a great
much.
day.
Have a great day, everyone.